Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back, everybody. It is week 3. Now, I'm not using headphones today because I'm not really talking to anybody on here, but can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Just let me know if the audio is working. That'll be great. Wait for a few more people to get in while we do that. All right, very cool. All right, well, we got a lot to go over today, and hopefully some of this stuff's gonna sink in. And if it doesn't sink in and you get one or two things out of this whole series, that's cool too. No one says you have to learn theory. I don't know what you individually want to do with music, or how important it is to you to know, theory, chords, all that stuff. To some, it's very important. To others, they don't want to know, and that's fine too. But if you can pick up one or two things here, I think that's a good thing. So I just want to go over and let's see here. 12 people in right now. Let me just reiterate. We went over this. This is the key of C, all right? And then we numbered everything up to 13. Obviously, 1, 3, and 5 is marked in red because those are constants. We don't call it 8, 10, and 12. It's always 1, 3, and 5. If everyone remembers that. Okay, you want to play like Slash. Well, that might take some practice from you, but not, I don't know what he knows. So anyways, then also what I wanted to talk about was the triads. Okay, now these are the triads to the key of C. There are 7 of them. And they're always going to be, the 1 is major, the 2 is minor, the 3 is minor, the 4 is major, the 5 is major, the 6 is minor, and the 7 is diminished, which would be, I had to remember to try to play it as a triad because more times than not I'll always play it with the 7 in there, but and that's the B diminished. All right. So no matter what key we're in, if we're in the key of G, and you know that the key of G has just one sharp, it's F sharp, so it's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. The triads would be G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished, and then G again. All right. So once you know that, let me just switch over to so I can see. You know what? Hold on. Let me think if there's a better way. Can I pop this chat out? I can, and I did. All right, now let me see where the chat is here. Okay, kind of good. Is there a way I can keep it on top? Live chat. No, can't keep it on top. All right, so does everyone understand what I'm talking about, though? We have these 7 triads, and you can number them. You can say the 1 is C, 2 is D minor, 3 is E minor, 4 is F, 5 is G, 6 is A minor, and 7 is B diminished. Now, 7 is always going to be diminished. 6 is always going to be minor. The 5, the 4 are going to be major. The 3 and the 2 are going to be minor. The 1's going to be major. That is, unless we're looking at what's called a Nashville chart. And in the Nashville chart, they write everything out to assume major. It's just an easier way to notate it. I don't want you to get confused with it, but that's just what goes on. As far as the music goes, we can call off. So if we looked at these triads, and I said we're going to play a 1, 4, 5, we're playing C, F, and G. Dave's Guitar Channel, these triads chords now, does our triad leads fall around 7 chords? What the hell does that say, Johnny? What are you writing there? It's in the key of C, so we have 7 triads. All right, so if you're playing what's the question, Jan? Oh, you don't understand his question either. Yeah, I don't know what the hell he's asking me. It's like hieroglyphics. Anyways, so you have 7 triads. All right. So that tells you that 1, 4, and 5 are major. Let me see. I think I have a sheet for that. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So we have the 7 triads, right? And we'll take a look here. We can see on the bottom, you don't really have to, you can see on the bottom, it says every key will have major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. And then below, there's all 15 keys, even though there's really 12, but you see the ones with slashes can be looked at from the sharp keys or from the flat keys. So, but if we take a look up top and we see that the 1 is CEG, the 4 is FAC, the 5 is GBD. So 1, 4, and 5 are major chords. So that tells you that if you see a major chord anywhere, like let's just say somebody wants you to vamp and they say, hey, here's a solo. I want you to play me a solo. And they play you a G chord. You know you can treat that G chord in 3 keys. You can treat it like it's the 1. You can treat it like it's the 4, and you can treat it like it's the 5. If you treat it like it's the 5, we're in the key of C. As you can clearly see, it's the C. However, let me just open this other one up here. Here we can see that the triads are in 3 different keys. So the one right below where it says major triads, 1, 4, and 5, that's the key of G. Also, the key of D has the G chord in the 4 position, and the key of C has it in the 5. Do any other keys have a G chord? The answer is no, because the G has to be the major chord has to be in the 1, 4, or the 5 position. Let me know if I'm not being clear about that. If the chord is major, it's going to be in the 1, the 4, or the 5. We're talking only here about triads. It's either the 1, the 4, or the 5. If there's a minor chord, it's either the 2, 3, and 6. So if we look at the bottom half of this page, we can see that I'm looking at A minor. The first one is the key of C, C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished. So there the A minor is the 6th chord. In the next example, we have a G scale, which is G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished. And so the A minor is the 2. Underneath that, we have the key of F, and that's F, G minor, A minor, B flat, C, D minor, E diminished. And now A minor is the 3 chord. So A minor can only exist as the 6, the 2, or the 3. Again, above, the major chords have to exist in the 1, the 4, and the 5. Now, this is a rule, and it's going to happen, let's say, 8 times out of 10, maybe 9 out of 10. There will be things that change over time where you'll start to understand that they can exist elsewhere, but it's really more like 90% of the time, it's always going to be like this. 60% of the time, it works every time. Because when we get to altered and you start getting into more jazz stuff, then the chords can be anywhere. And also there's harmonic major, and we're not going to get into any of that stuff. That's well beyond how we start. So we have the 1, the 4, and the 5. And on the bottom, we have the triads. We have the minor triads, and A minor appears as the 2, the 3, and the 6. If we look up at the top, though, we can see that let's take a look at the key of C. It's on the bottom right on the top. C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, right? And we talked about this. If you see a song that has 2 chords next to each other that are major, like Dreams from Fleetwood Mac, you know automatically 2 majors are next to each other, they're the 4 and 5. If you see 2 minors next to each other, that's the 2 and 3. Let me know if that's easy to understand and if anyone has any questions from this point. Hold on. Let me see what this says here. All right. All right, so does anyone have any questions? No questions? Any questions? No questions? It's a little Kevin Nealon for you. Any questions? No questions? So we could see that if we want a G chord and you're going to play the G, I could play G major. Well, Richard, thank you for letting me know. I also can play C major. Right, so now I have an F natural. Can also play D major. All right, they're very subtle differences. And really in music, that's what a lot of it is, very subtle stuff, especially when you're very close to the keys, your 1 note difference. So the 1 note difference from G to C is, instead of having the F sharp, it's an F natural. And the difference between the key of D to the key of G is there's a C sharp. So the 4 is sharped. That's the 3 places that you will find the G chord. Okay? Now, I've talked about dominant chords for a while, and I was telling everybody, and I believe Johnny Kramer finally understood me, that the dominant chord wants to resolve to the 1 more times than not. That's really what it wants to do. However, the dominant chord and the diminished chord act very similar to one another, where the diminished chord wants to resolve up 90% of the time. The dominant chord wants to resolve to the 1. However, sometimes the roles reverse, and it's very common for a dominant chord to resolve a half step up to the major. A dominant chord and a diminished chord really are one off. A half diminished is basically a dominant chord without the root. You could look in the key of C there, we have B, D, F. Well, if you put a G in front of it, it's a G7, and that's really what we deal with here. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because I'm going to show you some techniques in songs that happen and how key changes happen, and I want you to see how the 5 is used, because the 5 can be used to go up half a step to resolve, which is rare. And when I say rare, it's not as obvious as the 5 to the 1. It's very common, but it's not as common as 5 to 1 resolutions. 5 to 1 resolutions is what you want to hear. All right. So let me show you a couple of songs real quickly, and we will look at that. Okay. So this song is a song I taught, and I taught it this week on my channel, which I think it came out yesterday. I did it over the weekend while I was snowbound. And let's stay in today. So I wanted to show you the structure of the song, because the song goes through a key change, and I wanted to show you the key change, how they do the key change, and then how they get back and resolve you to the actual key that the song started off in, back to the main section. So the song starts off, and I'm going to show it to you like without the capo. So the first chord we're going to look at, you can see up on the top there, it says 1, 6, 2, 5. And then I tell you in the key of D, that is D, B minor 7, E minor 9 is what they do in the song, and A6. Let's forget about the extensions. If I just play it in its simple form of D, B minor, E minor to A. And now we can add some of the extensions to make it. So we have I don't know what the hell, how high the hell's the note? You've got a cute way of walking. You got the better of me. Just my young fingers and I'm walking out the door, hanging on. Right? Then he gets to the A. Now he's going to go to a key change, and he's going to go to a flat 6. Now, the reason I have in the chord chart at the very top in parentheses flat 7, because against the key you're in, it feels like he goes to the flat 7. You really don't know he went to the flat 6 till it continues, but he goes. Because everyone knows that type of build up in music where you have right, it's Lola, really. Right, so that's what he's doing basically. He's just taking you to the key of E. But he's taking you from coming up here from like now we have a key change, and the key change is 1, 6, 2, 5, the same chords that are in the verse, a whole step up. E, you make me feel like dancing. I want to dance the night away. You make me feel like dancing. I want to dance the night away. You make me feel like dancing. I feel like... Now what happens here is the person who writes the song is saying, how the balls am I getting back to the key of D? You have to come up with a bridge, and not a bridge in the song, but a musical bridge that's going to bridge the key change back to the other key change. And so what he does is, here's the B11, which is acting as the B7. We'll just play it as a B7 for a moment. As it has in the chorus, it's resolving to that E, right? Well, it can also resolve to E minor. And so that's what he does. What they do is they go immediately into the key of D and come out with a 2, 5, 1 to the key of D. 2 being E minor 7, 5 being A11, and the 1 being now the D. So what happens is he goes... You make me feel like dancing. I feel like dancing, dancing, dance the night away. Like dancing, dancing. Coming into the D. Now we're back to the original key. Again, to get to the next key, he's going to go. So that's like a technique that he's using to get to this thing. Now, the other day I was watching Donald Fagen. Oh, and which reminds me, I'm watching this Donald Fagen clip of him talking about chain lightning. And I tell you that the jazzers hate that I call the chord an 11 chord, but when I did sessions, nobody ever referred to it any other way. And all the jazzers say, "Oh, it's a 9 sus4." And I was watching a jazz guy's channel the other day, and everything was a sus chord. I'm like, oh, they just don't want to say 11 because there's no 3. However, let me show you this.
We end up on a C triad with a D in the bass, which is a you call an 11 chord. It's one of the many names we might have for it.
Or a C over D or something.
Peculiar nomenclature that they use in music, and that's a chord that leads to.
All right, so I'm just making the point that people call it 11 chord. So Dave, the extension is the 7 and the 9 of the major, or I'm confused. I'm dumb. Okay, so Johnny Kramer, a 7 chord. When you see a chord like a 7, let me. That's a great question actually, because I think I do speed through this too much. Thank you, Jan. I think I do speed through this too much. But what happens is, let's say we take a simple chord like a dominant 7 chord. You see it all the time, right? So this is a B7. Well, if you extend it to the 9 like this, it's still an extension of a 7 chord. It has the 7, has a flat 7 and a 9. When you have an 11, you have the flat 7, the 9, and the 11. So whether it's an 11 chord, a 13 chord, a 9 chord, they're all 7s. They're all dominant chords. They basically are acting as a dominant 7 chord. They just have extensions on them. If it's an add 9, then it is not a 7. So if I play like a D and I say D add 9, like here, I would play, here's a D, like a D add 9. Oh, that would be like a D add 9. Actually, it'd be more like, gotta be a mess, but how to play it on the guitar as much as on the piano. But anyways, the 9 would have the E and the F sharp, whereas a D sus2 or a D9 will have the C in there as well. It'll have the flat 7. So the dominant 7 chord is either a dominant 7, you can call it a dominant 9, a dominant 11 chord. They're all the same. They're all the dominant 7 chords. So when I say, let's just play the dominant 7 here, even though I wrote 11, I'm just showing you it in its basic form instead of you trying to figure out the 11 chord. It's easy. Everyone knows if I wanted to play it open, everyone knows the 7. In that lesson, I show you how I do the walk down, like, you make me feel like dancing. I want to dance the night away. You make me feel like dancing. I show you the whole walk down and all that. And that's on the lesson that I put out yesterday. Okay, great, Brian. Excellent. So that's an example of using the 5 chord in the end of the chorus to resolve now to the E minor 7 as a 2-5-1. All right, so that's how they get back. Now, I have another song I want to show you. The next one is by Neil. Hi, it's Neil. Is a Neil Sedaka song. Now, I put it a half step down because the record key's in F and I play it with a capo, but we don't need capos tonight. And I'm not going to sit there and bar chords and kill my hand while I'm doing these lessons. So, it's Laughter in the Rain. I didn't put the intro in there even though it's Now, there's a lesson on this if anyone's watching and they're like, how's he doing that? I have a whole lesson on it. You can watch it on my channel. I'm here to show you these changes. So we're in the key of E, and he starts with a 1, all right? To the 2. Now, he actually plays it like, the question I have is, what is the 2? In the key of E, it's an F sharp minor because the 2 is minor. The 5 is always going to be your dominant chord. So here he has a B7. It's really all plug and play simple stuff, folks. If you really have to know the circle of fifths. You have to know the keys. You should know the key of E is 4 sharps and it's E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. So we can just plug and play the chords when you see this chart. The roads, country roads with my baby. It starts to rain. Out of the umbrella down to the skin. I did her in. Now I didn't write this little walk down, but here's the pre-chorus. Now here, he uses a secondary dominant because we're getting to the end of the verse, and he wants to make it big. And so how does he make it big? He gives it instead of, now the minor is going to be a dominant chord, and he makes that dominant. So the B sounds like the resolution, and of course he susses it too. But that's why that feels like the end. Right? So it's okay, so now this next chord, you're in a B7. I told you all the time it wants to resolve to 1, except the B7 can also act like diminished, which would be going up to the whole step to C. But I watched an interview with Neil Sedaka, and he talked about how he heard Elton John use this technique of playing the dominant 7 chord, and instead of going up to the major a half step, he went down a whole step to the relative minor. And that's what he does. And we can look down at the bottom of the sheet, and we're now in the key of G. And it's 2 5 1s. It's ooh, I hear laughter in the rain, walking hand in hand with the one you love. Ooh, how I love a rainy day. Okay, so that's where we're at now. We're playing 2 5 1s in the key of G. It goes 2 5 1 6 2 5 1 2 5 1 6, and now Neil's in a predicament. He needs to get the hell out of this section. So he's got to come away to figure out how to come back to the original key. So what happens is, instead of playing the A minor 7 now on the next turnaround as the 2, he plays the 4. And then a half step down, and he's to that dominant chord. So one more time with that chorus. I hear laughter in the rain, walking hand in hand with the one. Ooh, how I love a rainy day and the happiness I feel inside. Okay? Now we're here at the B7. Where do we go? It resolves to the 1. So the reason I'm showing you this is because on the last lesson, somebody asked me to show examples of key changes and how they work. And this is an example of where the key change is happening because the dominant 7 chord is pushing you around, and the writer is obviously as well with the melody. But we could see how he can come back, and they always come back to that 5 chord to make you resolve to the 1, because that's the strong one, and that makes the verses come back naturally when he's like, and the darkness I feel inside. Dun, 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 dun. It's just natural. I also like playing, I have it written as E minor 7. I like playing that chord as an E minor 9. I like playing, I hear laughter in the rain. I like that chord. Walking hand in hand with the And so also in this 2-5, you can see I'm playing an A minor 7 to a D11, and all I'm doing is I'm lifting up that finger and playing D, G, C, E. Because there's something that goes on in music that the less movement is the nicer feeling and sounding. And there's so many common tones, and having these common tones carry over. So when you hear that, and now this chord has a lot of tension that wants to resolve to that G. Laughter in the room, walking hand in hand with the one. Oh, how I love a rainy day and the exactly, Tone Seeker. Yeah, it becomes natural. And you want that natural thing. You see that a lot in country where you have like some people playing G chord like that type of thing, where there's a constant of being played on top and the bass is pedaling through, and it has like a nice sound. You hear it a lot also in a lot more records when you hear like you see this chord, the A7 sus4, which is A, E, G, D, G. And you see that because it has, like when you're playing songs like something with a D. Right, what is that? What's that song? That Henley song, and you hear it in a bunch of Tom Petty, The Waiting. Whatever the hell it goes, I don't know. Playing it off the top of my head, folks. But anyways, so the common tone thing is really cool when you're playing stuff like with 2-5-1s, and you'll see that a lot too. A guy I play with called me, he messaged me today and wants to do a song. And in the song, there's that common tone chord for the 5. When it gets to the F and then it gets to the G. No, that wasn't the End of Innocence. That was I Had a Letter. Heart of the Matter. But you'll see this chord a lot in music, which is a G11. You can hear it like as a D minor 7 over G, or you can play it as an F over G. It just depends on how you want to voice it. But you'll hear songs where it's like, what is that song that does that? There was something that I had to teach, and I was like, oh man, it's like every other line was that. Would go back to that. But yeah. So, are there any questions so far? And Johnny, please ask away. Do not feel like I'm trying to shut you down. I wasn't. I just couldn't read what you wrote 5, minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, however long it was when you said what you said. Why do you do what you do when you did what you did to me? I was crazy for you. So yeah, and you'll see a lot of that too, and even in jazz stuff with the common tones of playing chords. That type of thing. But everyone, you should know these types of numbering formats. If someone says to you, hey, the song is it's a 1-2-5, it's a 1-2-5-1, the verse. Okay, 1-2-5-1, what key? And let's say instead of E, they say we're going to do it in G. So someone's like, then you're moving all around. But anyway, so you should be able to know the changes from the numbers, from the keys. So that should be something you should all know, especially if you're like playing like lead stuff too. Now, the difference, I've said this before, the difference with most rock players versus the jazz players is rock players are playing to the whole section. So if you see this song up in the top, you're playing to the 1, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2. You're looking at that whole thing and you're saying, great, key of E. Whereas a jazz player or somebody with more of a jazz sensibility is looking at each chord. And they see the 1 chord is the E, the 2 is the F sharp minor 7. And then they see that B7 and the 5, and they're like, okay, well, there's the chord I can have some fun on. There's the tension chord. Okay, good. Well, if you have questions, Johnny, I want you to ask. That's the point. So, but my point is so like a lot of jazz guys, the sensibility is different. It's they're playing to the chord and they're looking at everything from the chord. When they see that B7, they can play many different tensions, different scales, and I'll go over the dominant chords, the stuff you can play over dominant chords. There's a lot of scales you can play, but for the most part, a rock player will sit and look and even like the session guys, like the Steely Dan guys, most of those guys play pretty conservatively. They pretty much play to the whole section, and then occasionally they'll follow the chord. There's no written rule set in stone of how to play or how you need to play. But if you're listening to like Iron Maiden, you got like Dave Murray. What was the song I heard today? Like one guy played the solo in E minor, and then the key changed to A minor, and the second guy took the solo, and they're playing they're just running up and down A minor and E minor. It's like, and there's nothing wrong with it. I effing love Iron Maiden, and they've made a lot of money off me. I went to many concerts and bought every album a few times over. But I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying, but that's what they do. They're just playing over, like they play over like. C melodic minor over B7 alt. Yes, that's exactly right. Yes, you would play that over alt. So does every chord have scales? And how many scales can come out of one chord? So that question's hard to answer, but drawn by quest for fire. So think of it like this. Every chord can be in many scales, like a C major chord. Let me go back to that because I feel like I kind of glossed it. That wasn't it. Here we go. So here. All right. So if we look here, we can see. Okay, so if we look here, we can see the G chord, Johnny, appears in the G major scale as the 1 chord. So because every major scale is going to have 3 major chords, 3 minor chords, and 1 diminished, we know that G chord exists in three scales. Now, it gets a little wishy-washy when we start talking about dominant chords, so I don't want to mention them just yet, just because it's going to, when I do, and I will talk about it tonight for you, but because there's a lot more than the altered that gets used and that's really nice. So the melodic works really great over the alter as long as the B7 is altered, and I feel like the next lesson I'm going to do next week is also going to be over a lot of the altered stuff, but more pentatonics and how the Hendrix chord works. Because, when rock guys hear like, B7 altered, they get scared. They're like, what the hell is this? And really the Hendrix chord is an altered chord. It's when you hear the Hendrix, that's an E7 altered. We have E7 with a sharp 9. That's an altered. So you can play all kinds of altered. whatever. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter. We're going to go into that next week a lot, because over altered chords, you can play some really cool pentatonic stuff and not even deal with the altered scales and stuff like that. I actually like the double diminished scale a lot too. Yeah, it's a sharp 9. And you can also play it with a flat 9, like the David Gilmour likes the always that. Well, it's here. Home, home again. Right? And then he's like, C major 7, B minor 7, F, G, D7 sharp 9, D7 flat 9, E minor 9. So even in Pink Floyd stuff, we're using altered chords. That's a D7. Now, a lot of times why a lot of jazzers call the chord like B7 alt instead of just saying B7 sharp 9 or B7 flat 9 is because it's really up to the person playing. In a lot of jazz charts, hey Todd, a lot of jazz charts will let you decide how you want to play the altered. So it'll just say to you, it'll say B7 alt, and then you come up with what's altered on it. Yeah, the half hole's great. Yeah, I call it the double diminished, and I'll go into that a little bit with you too, because the whole half I don't really care for, but the half whole scale is excellent, the double diminished, because you're basically looking at 2 diminished chords stacked, making 4 dominant chords. And so that's why I'm like, you can find dominant chords in the double diminished scale. You can find it but in classic triads, that what I'm talking about, I don't want to like muddy the water with the people who are just learning this. It's hard to, hey, thanks, James Stewart. It's hard to teach everybody at once, because there are some guys like Jan who are way advanced, that know a lot of stuff. And then there are guys, I'm not pointing out Johnny, but that, never had that to them. Hey, Rich. So it's hard for me to do. So I'm trying to do it as slow as I can and make it interesting. So again, let me explain. Thanks, Jan. You're the best, man. So what happens is if you have a 1 chord, let's just say you have a C chord. The C chord is going to exist in 3 keys. It is the 1 chord in the key of C. It is the 4 chord in the key of G. And it is the 5 chord in the key of F. So if somebody was playing a C, I could be like, I could add the B flat on there because I'm playing at the key of F. If there's no direction, it's just, I could play the key of C. And I could play the key of G with the F sharp in it. Oh, excellent, Richard. I'm glad, super glad to hear that. Yeah, so. Oh, hey, thanks, Hetriani. Thanks so much. So again, we're looking at, we can decode certain songs immediately. If you see a song and it's like, what was that? What's that? Triumph, Lay It on the Line, right? So if you have Lay It on the Line, you have a 4 chord, 5 chord. I already know the next chord is going to be an A minor, because the 4 and the 5 are next to each other, and that means we're in the key of C. Now, yeah, you could say, oh, C, that's A minor. Yeah, I don't really care if you call it A minor or not. I tend to just say C, because when I look at a piece of sheet music, it's going to be marked as C. And I also think that the D minor with the raised 6, which would be the Dorian mode of jazz, Dorian mode of the modes, is also a nicer sounding thing, and probably more common than the D minor Aeolian mode. So I just like to call off the key and just tell you what note we're so centering on. Tonight's, why is the 4th and 5th called perfect? Okay. Fezler asked a question, and I'm going to answer it because it's a good question. A perfect fourth would be, let's just say we have that's a Walter Bishop song, but I love that. It's all fourths, every note. All right, so anyway, a fourth, C to F, right? C to F. D to G. Now let's say I'm harmonizing with you, Fez, and I say we're going to harmonize fourths. And the song is in the key of G, and so I'm going to play C, D, E. Well, we're in the key of G, so you're going to play F sharp, G, A. These two are perfect fourths. This is a sharp 4. Therefore, we're playing diatonic fourths. We're playing to the scale. We're playing, you can say diatonic fourths, or we're playing in fourths. However, if we play in perfect fourths, then the key doesn't matter what key we're in. I'm just following what you're playing, and I'm playing parallel to you. So if you play, I'm going to play regardless of the key. Now, when you do that, I'm starting on F, which we've talked about F sharp, and I'm also playing a B flat to your F. So I'm playing perfect fourths regardless of the key to the song. That's why they call it perfect. A perfect fourth is, and it's just that interval of, because, you know, that would be a 4, a sharp 4. I guess, I don't know if there'd be instances where that would be, I guess, depending on what scale you're playing, but yeah. So that's why. I hope that makes it clearer for you, Fez. There's also, you could say, like perfect thirds too. Like if someone's playing a harmony, like an Iron Maiden thing, where Maiden's like, well, the harmony to that up a third, a minor third, is this. Right? So I'm playing completely different. Whereas perfect thirds, it would be. Right? The B would become flat instead of natural. Yeah, well, that's fourths. Like I said, that Walter Bishop song is a really cool exercise because it's all the notes played in fourths, so it goes all around. Not to be confused with a flat 5, same note, 2 different things. Absolutely. Yeah. And if a song has a 5 in it, clearly the other note's not going to be a flat 5. That I see that all the time. In fact, it happens more with augmented chords. People play augmented chords wrong, and they'll play, in fact, Marty Schwartz on the song Oh Darling starts off the song like this. That's how Marty Schwartz starts off Oh Darling. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's, hey Adina, how are you? That's nothing wrong with that chord, but it's not an E7 augmented like he called it. It's not an E7 sharp 5. It's an E7 flat 13. Why? Because this B is a 5. So we have 1, 5, flat 7, third. Well, we can't have a sharp 5 here because we have the 5 here. So this has to be a flat 13. Now you could say it's a flat 6, sharp 5, flat 6, but we have a 7. So we don't say E7 flat 6, we say E7 flat 13. I believe the chord is played up here. E, G sharp, C, E. That is an E augmented. There is no B. So anyway, so it's important when you're calling off chords because they basically tell you everything that you need to know about the chord. You know, it tells you everything. So when you see someone saying, well, it's a flat 5, well, then there better not be a 4 in there. There better not be, and there better not be a 5 in there because you want that 5. So you hear like a lot of like, what is that song that has all those flat 5s? In a little while from now, if I'm not feeling any less sour, I believe. What the hell's that? It's like, but it does that, this chord. The G minor, flat 5, A Pam. What is it? Alone again, naturally, which is a great chord. C7 flat 9. Now, well, 7 flat 9, very similar to a diminished. The 7 flat 9 chord really is like a diminished chord with the bass note on the 5. Yes, Gilbert O'Sullivan. That's it. Yes. Augmented inversions move up 2 whole steps. Yeah, well, that's exactly. Yeah. So we got G, B, D sharp. Yeah, exactly. And in fact, if you look at like the key signatures of like if you took the G, the key of G, the key of B, all in major 7s. The key of actually start in B. Key of B, D sharp or E flat, whatever key you want to call it. I'd call it E flat. To G is an augmented triad. And that is the whole basis for giant steps. Giant steps is all 2 5-1s around those 3 keys. It's in the key of B, 1. Then it goes to the key of G. Sorry, 1. Then it goes to the key of G, 5-1. 5-1 in E flat. Back to G. It's such a cool song, but that's all it is. It's like 1 5 1 5 1 2 5 1 5, constantly changing throughout the triads, the augmented triad: key of B, E flat, G major 7. So also, let me just show you how similar the dominant 7 chords are. If I have and I'm going to show you with just easy keys. So if I'm in the key of G, right, the D7 is this. But if I want to get to here, a common trick is to play a D7 with the D and raise the bass. So there's a song I taught, and you know, it's funny because when I teach these songs, I hear that I'm like, oh, okay, that's this. And then people are like, how can you tell what it is so fast? And I'm like, well, I've seen this 100 times. Like, you get used to it. So when you hear that song, baby, please, baby, please. Now the next goal is to get to the A minor and make it feel like it's the resolution. So we go, D 2 5 1. Right then. Give that the feel of the 5. Then. Now here comes to the chorus. G major 7, G dominant 7. Now, if I'm on a G dominant 7 before the chorus, can you tell me what's the first chord of the chorus? I'm on a G7, a 5. It wants to resolve to the 1. What is the first chord of this chorus? I'll wait. I'll wait till your love comes down. 2. Yes, Hetriani, thank you. So it goes to the 7. Heaven knows it's not the way it should be. Heaven knows, G over B, not the way it should be. Don't you know there's nowhere to go? And then the diminished, D sharp diminished, because she wants to walk it up to down inside to bring it back to the root, to the beginning of the verse, which is that E minor. So a lot of times when songwriting, number one, there are people that write songs and, some are good, some are bad. And then there were guys that take it as a craft and take it serious. Like, I remember reading somewhere where Bon Jovi was talking about songwriting as a craft. And he's right. You have to work at it and you'll come up with clever things. It doesn't mean you're going to be great, but you should know at least techniques. And so I was watching a thing with Donald Fagen. He was talking about then he gets to the G. And what happens is he gets to that E. What does he play it there? He plays it like a... what the hell's that chord he plays? It's like an A. Maybe it's a... Yeah, like that. All right? But he plays that as the dominant chord because he has to get back to A, and he was in the key of G. And he even says it in the thing. He's like, well, I'm thinking, how the hell am I getting back to A? I got to have a 5 chord. So he plays the E. That happens a lot. And so if you look at some songs, you'll see that happens, that the 5 chord is used a lot to manipulate stuff. We talked about She's Gone. And also, what was that? There's that song Emily and I play, Too Much Heaven, right? But it gets too much heaven. So here, let's look at these chords to Too Much Heaven real quick. It's in the key. No, a D major 9 would be like an A chord over a D. Let me just pull up these triads for you again. All right, so just so you can see and we can number them. I'm pulling that up so you can just see in this aspect of Too Much Heaven, right? Passing chord, yeah, because it's like, because at the end of that, it's like, and there's that diminished. And it's just used as a tension because that diminished wants to resolve to the 1. Now, the cool thing about this, let me just show you this chord. This is a D sharp diminished chord, right? So if we lift my first finger, everyone together lift my first finger. We have a D7 here. My fingering's all fucked because I'm playing I'm playing with the last 3 fingers. So we have A, D, A, C, F sharp, right? It would look like this normally. But if I play it like this, I can then just put my first finger down on the D sharp because that's really what a diminished chord is. It's like a D, it's like a 7 chord, a dominant 7 chord with the raised 1. So if I play D7 here and put my first finger here, my middle finger on the D sharp, there's your diminished chord. So you can see both chords are really similar. And they do similar things. But here's what's cool. If I play this chord and I put a B on the bass, and instead of walking it up a half step, I'm going to make the bass note be the 5. We have what's called a 7 flat 9 chord, which is really cool. And it also will act. So you can see the 7 flat 9 and the D sharp diminished are almost the same chord. We just added the B on the bass. we go down to the root from and consider the first note, the D sharp, a major third. So you really see that the diminished chords and the dominant 7 chords are very similar. And I'm going to hammer this into your head because you'll see it come to light better when we get to chords like the double diminished scale and some of the other melodic minor stuff. A lot of things happen. A lot of jazz is all rooted in melodic minor, and not just in the 7 altered scale. There's the third, the mode, which is why jazz guys really love the modes, because they have like, what's the third mode of the melodic minor? What the hell is that called? Lydian. What the hell is that called? Lydian flat 7? Oh, no, that's the 4th. There's a Lydian flat 7, a Lydian, let me see. No, that's the 4th of the melodic minor. Is Lydian flat 7. Maybe it's Lydian sharp 2. Yeah, but that's the 4th. That's the 4th mode, not the 3rd. The third. What is the 3rd one called, Jan? What would be the 3rd? Oh, it's would it be? No, it would be. Oh, it's a Lydian mode too, also. Oh. So this would be Lydian sharp 4. Not Lydian dominant. B2 natural minor. No. If you got, if I'm in the key of D melodic minor and I'm starting on the 3, you have, here's your note that's off, that's out. There's the 4, so it's the 5. Oh, it's a sharp 5. Lydian sharp 5. Someone look it up. I think it's called Lydian sharp 5. Right. Yeah, there's no need for it because all I'm playing is the D melodic minor starting on F. And that's my whole point, is if you know that you have all naturals with a C sharp, I don't care what mode it is. But what I'm just saying is there's a lot of stuff you can play the dominant 7 chord over. And I don't really like talking modes, because if someone was to say, oh, you can play that dominant chord, well, I know I can play it in a few positions, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Although 7, I would need, it would have to be altered, because you don't want to play you can play the natural 5. You can play a sharp 5 or a flat 5 over a natural 5. It's just not great. And in that case, I think the double diminished works better. But that's another story for another day about playing over 5 chords. I mean, I just wanted to show you that from a songwriting point of view, that the dominant 7 chord is very similar to the diminished. So if you wanted to walk up the 5 to the 6, you can walk it up using the diminished as the passing chord. Yes, Fez. Hold on. Is someone messaging me here? What is this? No. Okay. Lydian Augmented. Thank you. Lydian sharp 5, Lydian Augmented. That's what it is. Thank you. I knew it wasn't Lydian dominant because the dominant one is playing it from the 4, not the 3rd mode. It's the 4th mode. Yeah, I mean, anywho, see, the way I look at it is like you're looking at, like in that particular case, I'm looking at the D melodic minor. Now, just so everyone's not shitting bricks, all melodic minor is the third is flatted. Don't think of it as sharp 5, sharp 6, sharp 7. Just think of it as the third is flatted. So in the key of D, we have F sharp and C sharp. So now F is natural. So that's melodic minor. Blame it all on my roots. I showed up in boots and ruined your black tie affair. Blame it all down. Right, exactly. Yeah, that's a good one, Ruffalo. Now again, just so people can see, because this is a very common tool in songs. You'll see the A to an A sharp diminished or B flat diminished, and all it is a B flat or an A sharp over the A7 chord. And it makes the next chord the B minor. The two sound nice. So it's like, blame it all on my roots. I showed up in boots and ruined your black tie affair. Now the 5. The 5/7 with the dominant 7. I was back to the 1 because it wants to resolve. Well, yeah, who knows exactly? Knows how much I love. I have to do that in my head there, Jan, but that's been a long time since I heard that. Great songs. I mean, the Beatles, you could really look at for songwriting. It's like songwriting 101. It's the Bible. As far as like the Stones, it's a much simpler approach to songwriting, in my opinion. But I don't disparage it. I think they're fucking awesome, and I think they do a lot of really cool things with the open tunings. I know like Pete Townsend likes to bag on them, but I don't really care for Townsend so much. I don't care for like the guys that play like every chord just trying to figure shit. You know, like, oh, I know 5 chords, and every song's going to have all 5 chords, But yeah, so I hope that you got a little bit out of using that 5 chord. So, and obviously, if you know where the 5 chord is, then you know where the 1 is. So if someone says to you, and this is crazy because when I used to do blues jams, it used to bother me just because I knew they didn't know. Well, most of them. But like if you play a blues in A, you're not really playing in A. It's called blues in A. And I'm going to go over this again next week because next week I'm really going to go into pentatonics because pentatonics can be really cool. And there's a reason why they work so nice by the notes. The 2 notes that are omitted out of the scale give you all kinds of freedom to stretch. But when you go play an A blues, you're not playing in the key of A. Because the first chord is an A7, can somebody tell me what key I'm in on the chord number 1? On the A7 chord, what key am I in? At this point, I'd be playing the Jeopardy theme if I had it. So I'm playing blues. Ed Pooner, that is not correct. Not correct. E is the 5 to A. A7 is a 5 chord to what? Robert Mueller, exactly. It's to D. So therefore, we're playing in the key of D. We have a C sharp and an F sharp. I'm approaching it in D. Even though I'm looking at it from A, I'm saying that G is natural. Now, again, people are going to say that's A Mixolydian. Sure, if you want to call it a mode. To me, it's just easy to think that A7 is the 5 to D. I'm playing in D. Yes, I know I'm centering on A. I'm not an imbecile. I get it. I don't need to then memorize all the names of modes, even though I have. I've done it all. I've never used it once. It never had me in a job. No one's ever said to me a mode and use it. It's always just been you're gonna play in the key of D, center on A. Now you can obviously add the bluesy approach of right because the C. Because we are playing an A7, it's a 5 chord. What do I always tell you about 5 chords? You cannot play a wrong note against a 5 chord, only tensions. There are no mistakes against a 5 chord. So therefore, sure, but it wouldn't, I'd have to have it centered, Todd, on the A, as long as because when you play B minor, I'm playing center it on D or B. I need to center on A. So, but I can also play all kinds of. That was altered. That was bluesy. So, and I've said this before. So what happens when you get guys like Larry Carlton and Robin Ford, they are treating the A7 like we're in D until we get to the last beat or the last half a bar. You can play minor pentatonic, Ed, and I will show that next week. But when I see a guy play pentatonic, it works. But do they know why it works and how can you make it work better? Obviously, it works because we have, the A is the 1, C is the sharp 9, D is the 4 or the 11. We have E is the 5, and G is the flat 7. So we really only have one out note, which is that C. And what happens a lot of times when people who choose to play that scale live on, and it doesn't sound good. Now you can go. And if you ever notice, like a lot of players like Hendrix and all those guys, a lot of times when they play fast over those like A pentatonics, they only play the B. They don't play the C. They go. Hey, Joe. So, even though we're playing an A7, can you play an A minor pentatonic? Absolutely. And next week, I'm going to show you how you can improve that, because you can also play an A major pentatonic. You can go. So let's say we're playing a blues. You can go. See, so what I did there was I went from minor to major. Both work. And like I said, next week, we're really going to delve into pentatonics. All right? So, then we get to a D9 in this blues, right? What key am I in now? I just changed keys. Unless somebody knows a key that has a 1, 4, and 5, all dominant 7s. Yes, Jan, agreed. So I'm playing a D9. Call it a D7. Correct, Billy Breeze. We are now in the key of G. This is also why A minor pentatonic still works, because we're in the A minor pentatonic is the 6th pentatonic to C, but it's also the 2 to G. So now the notes are 5, flat 7, 1, 9, 11. Nothing outside. Then we get to the E. What key are we in? E7. What key are we in? Ruffalo's right, but his answer was way before. There you go, Ed. Exactly. We're in A. Watch what happens now, the pentatonic that Ed wants to play. 11, flat 6 or flat 13, flat 7, 1, sharp 9. So there comes to be a lot more outside notes, which is also very nice and convenient. So a lot of people are playing A minor pentatonic over, but they don't know why it works or why it sounds good. There's other things you can do, and that's what I want you to be aware of. At A7, you're in the key of D, so that's a D riff, right? B, A, G, F sharp, E, D, then C to C sharp, back to the A. That's why that works, because that's a D riff. It's not in the key of A. It's in the key of D. That open G. That open G is the difference between the key of A and the key of D. Unskinny Bop does it, but it's funny you guys say that. I was playing I Know a Little. I know, well, the bigger the dog, the bigger the bite. I know it, the last time, I know a little. I know a little about it. I know a little. I know a little about it. I know a little about it. Whatever the hell it goes. I just know. Whatever. Hey, Anthony Ramos, how are you? Just getting carried away. But it's the same as Unskinny Bop. Unskinny Bop just blows me away. Something's out. That is. So yes. I don't even play that much anymore. I wish I did, Ed, but I don't. What was that? What was the other one like? All fun stuff. Weird, wacky stuff. Okay, so now let's take a look at some stuff here. What did I have in mind for you guys? Okay. Here's where it's going to get ugly, boys. Yeah. Okay, so this is what Jan likes to live in, what I call chaos. No. So on the top, this is very simple things to play. The C major is what you play the G7 over. Exactly, Todd. So the C major has the G7. Then you have to start getting into some altered scales. And when I say altered, I don't mean the altered. I mean harmonic minors and altered melodic minor. So we can take a look at the G major, a C major, and we see. So if someone's playing this chord, I can play. I can play the G major scale. However, the 4 position of the D melodic minor scale is G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F, G. So I could play that scale over a G7. The C melodic minor, which is the 5, would be this. Which is really like a, I don't know, I think they call it Mixolydian flat 6, but that was for Jan's sake. Then you get to the bottom, the C harmonic minor in G. And I believe that's called Phrygian dominant. And then you have the E melodic minor. And then we have the 2 scales that are like the classic jazz scales. We have the G double diminished, which is if you take 2 diminished chords, the G, B flat, D flat, and E, and then the A flat, B, D, and F. Is that right? A flat, B, D, and F. Yeah, you will have 2 diminished stacked on top of each other, and that turns into an 8-note scale of. And that has some cool things you can play over the G7. And then the A flat melodic minor starting on the 7, which is the altered scale. When somebody says altered, they're referring to this scale. That scale, which is when I always play when I'm playing stuff like that's right out of there. G, A flat, B flat, B, E flat, B flat, A flat, G. And that's what an altered would really sound like, a G altered. Well, yes, Jan, I also have that for Jan. Since Jan's going to come up with the modes, here we go, Jan, just for you, your very own. So here are the modes of everything. The C major would be a G Mixolydian. The D melodic minor would be G Lydian flat 7. The C melodic minor would be G Mixolydian flat 6. The C harmonic minor, Phrygian dominant, I was right. The G double diminished does not have a mode. The E melodic minor, which is the 3rd, which is G Lydian augmented, or we call G Gordon Liddy. Thank you. And then A melodic minor, A flat melodic minor is the G superlocrian. But we refer to it as the altered scale. And it's a fun scale. Again, I've talked about this before. What happens is we have the 1, the flat 9, the sharp 9, the major 3rd, the flat 5, the sharp 5, the dominant 7, and the 1. That's fun. It's a nice scale. Will you ever use it? Probably not. But there are some cool things. So just to show Jan something since he's here and spending some time. If we looked at like a C minor blues, right? A minor. When we get to the 5 chord, right, we have that G7. The cool thing is we can play there's a 3-note string kind of double diminished you can play, which is you would play this would there goes my plectrum. Hold on, I got 1 million right here. I got 1 million here, but I got 3 million on the floor. I can see them all. Oh, I don't like this pick. Anyways, if you have right, that's constant. So we have it's a nice little wouldn't be really altered because the E is natural, but whatever. But anyways, the point of the 7 chord is to create tension and to resolve home. And it's very similar to what the diminished chord does. Like the diminished wants to go up. There's another song let me just pull this off so we're not just looking at these scales all night. But if you looked at a song like, I don't know if you guys remember, I did Honesty by Billy Joel, right? And he's like, this pick sucks. Say they sympathy 3, 4, 6. That's an odd chord. It's a 7 minor 7. 2, 5, 1. We get all to these, right? Everybody seems so hard to get. And it ends on the B7. It resolves a half step up. And what that is, it's a B7 over D sharp. D sharp, A, open B. Very similar to the diminished. And in fact, there's a lot of times when I'm teaching a song and I go to teach a song and I'll go look it online and I'll see the diminished chord there. And I'm like, that is not a diminished chord. That is and in fact, I think Honesty might have been the one where it said it was diminished. And I'm like, that is, it wasn't that kind of attention. Everyone is so honesty, hardly ever heard, and mostly what I need from you. Goes to the D11 because he wants to go back to the G as your 1. So he lands on the 1, you to the 5. I can always tell someone, say they sympathize. If I wear my heart out on my sleeve. To tell me pretty lies. But we have that again. That dominant chord is resolving a half step. Oh, he was great. He was great. Very, very what I would consider influenced by Paul McCartney. But yeah, there's some great stuff he wrote there. Honesty. Right, the B7, which resolves to the E minor. There's a lot of that, and you'll find that when you write and when you play, you'll get used to stuff like that where you'll hear the tensions, and you know, You may the first few times try to fumble your way through it, but you'll get it. But it's all there, you know. And here when he's like, everyone is D11, really did his tune. Oh, you dig his song, You're My Home. You know, I'm not a huge fan of You're My Home. It's early Billy, and I feel like the writing on some of the early records, other than She's Got a Way About. What is that chord? Don't know what it is. Hey, thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, I did. So I tend to like Billy from like Turnstiles. To me was a huge jump. I mean, there's some stuff I like of course I love Root Beer Rag, and The Entertainer's okay. The Ballad of Billy the Kid I enjoy, but I don't love them. Like, he didn't really start singing to me till Turnstiles. And I think Turnstiles might be a better album than The Stranger. I know that's blasphemy to a lot of people, but I think Turnstiles, every song on it's just fantastic. And 52nd Street's also a great album after The Stranger. Glass Houses, I could do without some of the songs, but some of the songs were really great. But he just was excellent, you know. And there's another thing I heard today too that I was like, in Year of the Cat, that was on the radio. I was driving home, and it's, you know, it's 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4. Where is Lou Palo when you need him? I don't get it. Just the Way You Are. Yeah. Let's see if I can remember how it goes. That's not the chord. Hold on. Is it a? Yeah. What is that chord? Hold on. Is it a suspension or is it a? Let's try it. Don't go change. But is it a? I think it's a G sharp in the bass. Change. How can I play it? Oh, much better. Don't go changing to try to please. Don't go changing to try to please me. Yeah, it's a B minor, but it's over a G sharp, isn't it? It's like, don't want clever. It's a G sharp, B minor with a G sharp in the bass. Then into a G major 7, which is just one note different. To try to please me, this I promise from the start. I couldn't love you any better. I love you just the way you are. I should do a lesson on that. I'll have to figure that whole thing out. I don't know that rest of the part. I need to know that you will always be the same old song that what will it? What will it take for you? I have to figure that one out. I'll figure that one out and do a lesson on it. That's a great song. I like that. Don't go change. I think it is a G sharp in the bass. Or is it in the chord? What would it be? That would be the chord. Don't go changing. Try to please me. A lot of A11s. I don't want. Is it a? I don't know what that is. Times of trouble. Don't let them turn off your head. That's wrong. Yeah, it's full chord. I couldn't love any better. I want you just the way you are. What is that next? Oh, the way you are. Da, 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 da. Nice one, Snowball. Yeah, it's a beautiful tune. Yeah, so just to recap with some people that are starting out, if we see a G chord, we're in one of three keys. We're in the key of G, we're in the key of C, or we're in the key of D. The next chord will give you another clue to what key you're in. But all the keys are very close to one another, and everyone should, on their own time, this pick, God, what the hell? I'm moving that out of the way for a second. Hold on. What the balls? They're all Fender Extra Heavies. All my other picks are on the floor. All right, I'm picking it up. And I got it. Oh, yeah, a lot of Billy Joel stuff does. But everyone should take the time and learn the circle of fifths. There is a video I have on the circle of fifths, which will help you. Because a lot of people look at the wheel and the wheel's like fucked up. It's hard to try to figure out what the hell's going on. If you look at it the way I look at it, which is like you're constantly adding something, you know. So like in the key of C, we have no sharps and no flats. The key of G, we have an F sharp. Key of D, we have F sharp, C sharp. Key of A, we have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp. Key of E, we have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp. Key of B, we have F sharp, C sharp, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp. So, oh, very cool, Todd. And you can hear like what's that song? Albatross. It's basically just a 5-1. Yeah, it's a nice one. And even though like hey, thanks, Jan. Even though we know all these chords and all these changes, like when I say we, I mean me, I don't really use it all that often. I really, it sticks to what I'm trying to tell you to stick to is know the 7 chords. There's 3 majors, 3 minors, and there's 1 diminished. And it's the 1, 4, and 5 are majors. The 2, 3, and 6 are minors, and the 7's diminished. Oh yeah, LRB has some great changes. Anyone that uses a 9 sharp 11 chord is all right in my book, and LRB used that. Those guys vocally were out of their minds too, just brilliant. But next week we're going to go over. Yes, I do accept donations. I have a PayPal, a Venmo, and then I have like a wish list on Amazon, which I think is listed. And but whatever. You don't have to. That's not what the point is. It's there for people that can give. If you can give $1, 50, a quarter. You guys remember that from Welcome Back, Kotter? Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You could look at like some of these songs from the 70s literally are just like maps of, I would say they're the American standards that the jazz guys that the jazz guys use American standards. Obviously, they're using like a lot more difficult stuff, but just as in general, just stuff like, like. There's just some nice chords. There's also there's just so many great songs. And if you look at like a lot of my lessons, you'll see a lot of the same things reoccur. The 2-5-1s, the 5 going before the key change, of sections. And like I said, not every song, but a lot. Yeah, I don't know if I would call it intermediate or it's, if you watched all the videos, thank you, Investigative Services. If a little diary admin, no, that's But anyways, that's that. I don't know if I would call it intermediate or it just get out of it whatever you can get out of it. I don't know how you play. I mean, there are players that are really like, there are guys who can play their fucking asses off and don't know anything. and they feel their way through it. And then there are guys who say, I don't want to learn it. I can feel my way through it. And they shouldn't. By any stretch of the imagination, they should not. They have what's called Dunning-Kruger and can't hear themselves. And that's okay, too, if it's, their hobby. But you should learn whatever you can learn, and whatever you want to learn, you should learn. Oh, he did, Todd? That's terrible, Todd. But for the most part, learn what you can. And, I don't know if I would call this, some of this stuff is definitely beyond intermediate when you start getting into altered and we start getting into Lydian, whatever, all that nonsense. But, you just have to understand there's multiple melodic minors you can play. And that's all I'm trying to show you is if you're playing over the G7 chord, you can play the D major melodic minor. Sounds really nice. And then so does the C melodic minor, and then so does E minor, E melodic minor. They all sound good. And they all have different tensions and different sounds. It all sounds nicer on a piano to me anyways, but there are some great jazz players. There's a great jazz guy out of England that I think is just a great player. But if you were to tell someone where to get started with understanding 1/10 of all you know, go to where do you get started? I have a bunch of videos on music theory, Ed, that I started with way back when. It's music theory. I think there's 5 videos. I would start there. Sultans of Swing is a real, that's a fun one because the cool thing about Sultans of Swing is the Sultans of Swing is he's playing D minor, D, basically the key of F until he gets to that A. And then he plays the melodic, the harmonic minor, That's when you have all those types of licks because he's playing around the A chord. South of the river, you stop and you hold everything. Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff going on there, but I think a lot of people have trouble with it when they start because it's really played in 2 keys, really. You got D minor, and then in the last chord you have harmonic minor. You can even look at it like an A major almost, but it's really D harmonic minor. I gotta adjust my neck here, but it's that. So on that last chord, the C sharp is brought in. And just knowing that it's, which is you could call it a jazz approach because he is approaching that one chord differently than the rest of the song. And that happens a lot. I think that when you practice, you don't need to practice to a metronome. I think eventually, if you're still having problems, forget about a metronome. It's more like, I don't even know if they know how to count because I don't even think a metronome will help them. And certain people that I've seen, there are a certain group of people in my life that I've always referred to as where is one, where they can't find one. And I don't know if it's a counting issue or they just get excited and they want to rush coming out of 3 and it's like, what happened to 4? What happened to 4 and? Is 4 and out? Because we're back to 1 already. So, but yeah, everyone should be able to play in time, whether it's to a metronome or to a drummer. They should be able to play. And, people say, oh, playing to a metronome is boring. Maybe. Play to a record. Put on a record. Play to the record. Play to a moving drum. Like if it's a record before 1978 or if it's the band UFO. The drums are moving. There's not a steady tempo. Okay, the UFO fans, lay off me. I'm just telling you, those songs, they move. The beginning of a song and the end of a song, it's like, wait, what song are we listening to? Why am I? There's one song that bothers me by them. I forget what it's called. It might be I Ain't No Baby. But the intro of the song, and then they play the intro at the end of the song, and it's like, whoa, why are we playing this so slow? It's just weird. But yeah, I mean, you should be able to play to a drummer. You should be able to play. And the main thing is learn how to play. I mean, most people want to play guitar so they can entertain themselves. So that's first. The first thing to do is learn chords, learn some structure, and you'll get it because, you know, it's people will write to me all the time on my channel when I post a video. They will say, like, do you have a strumming pattern? You need a strumming pattern? If you need a strumming pattern, you don't need me to give you lessons. You need to sit and do some work at home. What the hell you mean? Do I have a strumming pattern? Just pick up the fucking guitar and strum it. Like, there's some certain things you got to figure out. And I see some of these teachers, they're like, it's down, down, up. It's like, shut the fuck. Like, play the chords and get moving here. Beat buddy pedal, I'm sure, is fine. Whatever makes you happy. Cheech, the point I'm saying is whatever's going to make you play, get it. You know, I earlier I was downstairs making something to eat. I saw Mitch went live, and it was something like, how many guitars should you have? Who cares? That's the answer. How many guitars should you have? Who gives a fuck? Buy as many. If you can afford a lot of guitars, buy them. If you can't afford them, dream about buying them. You know what I mean? But if you want to own, like, how many guitars should you own? I know a guy who's worth millions of dollars. Guy's living the life of Riley. He doesn't go out and buy crazy amounts of guitars. He has a gorgeous collection. But he doesn't go out and buy a guitar every day. He doesn't care. He'd rather do other stuff. But if he wanted to, he could. And if he wanted to fill his house, he could fill his house with it. It doesn't matter how much you want. Whatever's going to make you happy to play. If buying a guitar a week makes you, hey, Gary Hubbs, how are you? If buying a guitar a week makes you happy and you're going to play it, buy a guitar every week. Who cares? But just do stuff to just play, you know? For me, that was when I was a kid. I remember when I was first learning songs. And, God, I remember when I was so excited because I learned. And I was like, wow, I figured that out. And figuring out songs is what kept me playing. I only had one guitar for the first probably 10 years of me playing. I had one electric and one acoustic. But yeah, just pick up the guitar and start playing it. And you know, like, you know, there are so many channels out there where people are talking about, like, is this amp as good as a tube amp? Who gives a shit? Just, you can't even play either. Just fucking play. Who cares? I mean, do you really think, like, you could listen to a record? I was watching something the other day and I was like, man, that guy fucking tone sounds fantastic. And then I looked and I see he was playing through a jazz chorus, a Roland jazz chorus. You know how many people on YouTube will scoff a Roland jazz chorus? That's not a tube amp. It doesn't sound good. This guy's fucking tone was great. I was like, what the hell's he playing? Sounded fantastic. So nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. If you play good, everything you play sounds great. Every asshole in the world's like, oh, Dumble's the best. Dumble makes the best amplifiers. He's so great. Carlton plays one. You know, Robin Ford plays one. All the greats play him. Really? Because Larry Carlton, all the stuff that I know of him, he was playing a fucking Fender. You know, because the shit that I listened to him was from the 70s. I don't know what the hell he's done in the 80s and 90s. I can care less. Yeah, Rodney, you take what you can. You take what you want. You know, that's the great thing about music is, you know, you can, everyone's at their own level theory-wise. You know, like, who the fuck is on the level of Jaco Pastorius? Can you imagine Jaco getting into a band? So I did a clinic once. At my store, we had Tony Levin came in. Is that his name? No, not Tony Levin. Tony Franklin from The Firm. And he was working with SWR, I think, at the time, and he did a clinic, and we were talking. He was telling me that he went to a club in New York with Jimmy Page during the Firm years, and they went into a club, and Jocko was there. And Jocko was on stage and called Jimmy Page on stage to play some songs. So Jimmy went up and said, I'll play the blues, but if you play any of that jazz shit, I'm walking. You know, even Jimmy Page is intimidated by this guy who's just fucking a monster. A monster. And fucking people, 99% of the people in the world will say Jocko who? And everyone knows Jimmy Page. So, I mean, it's not the most important thing in the world to know everything. It's what you do with what you know. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. No matter what. A good player will sound good on anything. And a bad player will sound bad on anything. They never sound good. You never hear, I've yet to ever hear a bad player pick up a guitar that was and we could talk about someone's channel that was on that I made a comment about. This person's buying $10,000 worth of gear and can't play. And it's like, well, why are you telling? I mean, I can appreciate you telling me you really enjoy the instrument. You think it's a beautiful instrument. That's great. But if it's like, again, it doesn't sound good to me what you're playing. It doesn't sound good. So why even play it? Like, you can just say, hey, this is a beautiful guitar. Like this guitar. This is a guitar. I think I paid $500 for it in 2006. I got rid of a Takamine G series for it. It was a Korean guitar. I got rid of. I love this guitar. Plays great. Sounds great. Could I live without it? Yeah, whatever. But it's a great playing guitar. In fact, I ended up using it in a session once because the Taylor that I had, well, I had a few Taylors, but the one I brought to the session, and I think I was a Breedlove I brought. The guy didn't like either one on the mic. And then this one, he was like, you know. Carlton had his big amp was, he had a Princeton. And then he also had the 57 Tweed, the Tweed Deluxe. I think the Tweed Deluxe the 57 Tweed was his main amp. And I think the Princeton was a modded Princeton that he used for the solos on the Royal Scams. So like can't remember how it goes right now, but hard to play it on acoustic. But yeah, whatever. Oh yeah, Jocko was awesome. Heck, you make Epiphone sound like a Martin before you broke it earlier. Yeah, I mean, you can make anything sound good. I mean, when I was working at West LA Music and somebody wanted to come in and buy a guitar, I'd pick it up and you would play something pretty, and they would sit there and they knew right away. They were like, yeah, that sounds gorgeous. No way I'm making it sound like that. I'm like, I'm just showing you what it can do. Yeah, I'm not a New Yorker though. What do I can help. I can't get enough of Paul Lynn. Jeez. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Paul, don't change a thing about it. Yeah. So my thing to everybody is practice, and the stuff that I'm teaching on here, there's no reason that you sit down with your guitar and you need to go over this stuff. But I think it was Hetriani that said it before he came in. He was listening in the car. That's what I used to do. I used to do it in the car. Like if I'm driving in the car and I'm listening to music, I'm also at the same time going, all right, so if the G major scale It's going to, if there's a G chord, I'm in the key of G, I'm in the key of C, I'm in the key of D. Okay, got it. Okay, E major chord, I'm in the key of E, I'm in the key of B, and I'm in the key of A. So I would go through all those in my head just so I could get it, just so I could understand and know it off the top of my head. It almost had nothing to do with playing. Or what the two worlds didn't collide till much later for me. You know, you want to be able to, you want to know, like if you're playing like Sarah Smile. D minor, A minor, G minor. So A minor, G minor are next to each other. That's a 2, that's a 3, that's the 6. Key of F. Simple. That note's bad. I gotta adjust my neck. Yeah, there's been a little humidity problem in this room. I should probably turn the humidifier on. That's probably why I bought it. You would imagine that I would have, but I didn't. I haven't. Hey, thanks, Billy. Thanks so much. Yeah, that's it. If whatever's making you have fun, like I remember I wanted to buy a baritone guitar. Someone's like, "What do you need a baritone guitar for?" I'm like, "It's fun. I like to be able to have that low." Where's that? Where's that note? Anyways, that's it for this week, guys. I will see everybody next week, I hope. Next week, we're going to talk about pentatonic scales, how to use them, where to use them, how to get the most out of them, how to stack them, especially like in blues or even in the major sevens. Hey, thanks, Hatriani. All right, everybody, have a great night. I want to thank everyone for hanging out with me tonight, and we shall do it all over again. All over again. Exciting stuff. All right, guys, thanks.